Okay. All right, let's talk.
I thought, okay.
Okay. Say hello.
Hello. Greetings to you piano enthusiasts and geeks. We're back again. We haven't recorded in a while, but we're back on the saddle again after the holidays. We've both been very, very busy. I don't know how many of you remember, or even if I've mentioned it. I play the piano over at the Bon Mar department store. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's a fairly nice piano. They situated this 7-foot grand Kanabi concert artist series next to the escalator. And so, anyways, I've been there. Starting, when we get to the next Christmas, 2024, I will have been there for 20 years.
Wow.
20 years, I can't believe it.
Wow, man, it's an institution.
Yeah.
It's an institution.
Basically, yeah. So, yeah, I can't believe I've been there for 20 years. But there are only 2 other pianists there who've been there as long as I have. One's a jazz player, and the other one's a senior seasoned elderly woman who's been there as long as I have, and she's sort of an old style stride player. She plays. The other one plays in a jazz group. So. Me, I sort of compared myself to Casey Kasem, top 50. So.
Well, we'll just say some things. We had quite a year last year.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're not like techno wizards.
No,
and I think, astonishingly, I end up being a little bit more than even Elmer is. I kind of have an intuitive way of working with stuff. Get really teed off when it doesn't work the way I expect it to. But we tried some different ways of recording ourselves last year. And we finally found this little digital camera with the microphone. I'm hoping that I remembered how to set this up right again, because it's been a month and a half at least, probably, since we did it. But we did put up, I think, so far 2 shows, and I was working on the 3rd one, which I should finish and put up. But, Elmer came to me for lessons several years ago here in Columbus, and they have blossomed from, generally with somebody at this level, I plan for at least an hour and a half, because you got to give them time to play through the repertoire instead. But then we started talking about music more and finding, he and I we're both from Western Ohio, about the same period of time, and strangely, maybe it isn't so strange, but similar backgrounds, the way we grew up and what we were playing, what we could listen to, what we could purchase, and so forth. That was probably all because of the relatively limited market in Western Ohio, Springfield and
Finley.
at the time. But anyway, these lessons grew into sometimes he never even turned around and played the piano. He just talked.
We just talked.
Talk about music stuff. And we found that we really enjoy that. And some of you that have been listening to us realize that we're really good at that. I don't think that we demonstrated per se what our pianistic talents are, but you can find that in other places.
Yeah, I think so.
On film. That's not the point of this. Yeah. We just want to talk about piano, the piano world, classical mostly.
Yeah.
And related things. Sometimes we've talked about opera or symphonies and different things like that. But mostly we're just having fun talking about it and hoping maybe we can get you guys engaged in our conversations, at least by way of our Facebook page, and then we can communicate that way. We have had some contributions from people. But one of the things I've thought about, and Elmer and I thought about this, when we were on our own, we'd go maybe like 3 or 4 hours until he has to leave to go play church rehearsals. And we figured maybe we should try to pull it in, keep it limited to like a typical online radio podcast or, a standard YouTube kind of thing. So we're going to cut ourselves off at 90 minutes and see just what happens within that kind of thing. It's not like we'd solve the world's musical problems in a single show.
Yeah.
And that way it may not be quite so burdensome, because with some couple of the comments we did have, well, I made it through the first half. I've got some more free time coming up. I can watch the next
Yeah.
I mean, we were making like, what's his name? Tolstoy-esque versions of these shows.
Oh, yeah.
For 3 hours.
3 hours. Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to try to keep it tighter.
Yeah.
And, we've got various things we like to talk about. We bring in, he's always looking at thrift stores and finding amazing treasures. Yeah. I occasionally am ordering things, some treasures that I find. I've got one to share today.
Okay.
We can do that kind of thing. We've got various topics we'll hit on.
Yeah.
And Elmer tries to keep us generally sometimes on track with an outline.
Yeah.
And then I'm the one, the wild professor goes hacking away in the rainforest and goes off in that path. And
yeah.
God knows if we ever find our way back to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, before we go on, I wanted to share a story with Dr. Marc here earlier. Yes, I've been at Bon Mar for nearly 20 years. And I wanted to share the story that I had a shift last Saturday, a 3 to 7 shift. And during the second hour, while I was playing, this rather voluptuous young Mexican lady saunters up to the piano. Yeah, and she's rather bashful.
Kathy, cover your ears.
She already
told her.
I told her. And so she approaches, and I'm sitting here playing, and she's like staying right next to me, and I'm like looking at her, and she's smiling. It's a very pretty smile. And she says, "Single." And I look at her. Yeah? She says, "See?" And I said, "Married." I showed her. He says, no, single? No. I said, "I'm married." And so she pulls out her phone and starts pushing buttons here and there. And he says, "Oh!" She says, "No, singer." And so it dawned on me that she was trying to introduce herself that she was a singer.
Oh.
So I said, "Wow, what do you sing?" And she said, "Bolero." Bolero. And so she was rattling off songs that, wondering if I knew any of them.
You didn't.
And I did not know, because they were all, Spanish. And so I did not know any of them. But I just thought you would find out. Kathy found it less humorous. But when she told me she was a singer, I about cracked. I had to stop playing. I just totally cracked up. So
in the right circles, we musicians have been around our share of diamonds and cleavage and all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Not that we get access to it that much.
No, it doesn't happen often, but we've had some moments over at the store. So, but anyways, did you want to start with show and tell here?
Oh, yeah, that's good. Do you want to see mine?
Let's see yours.
So this, I've been, I think we've talked about it in the show's release, but
yeah.
Especially with COVID happening and in that period of time, really went into my monastic existence and just bought a bunch of recordings of things. Made a big study of the early French school of pianism, which was quite interesting. I think I slowed down because I'm running out of space to store stuff. In terms of books, I don't need to buy music so much anymore because I've got a pretty huge library to start with. But I've always been nuts for books and then recordings. So I've got a pretty amazing collection, I think. And I don't know if I'll ever get to listen to all of it. But I was looking at some things recently, and we're going to talk about some of those things in line with that. But I think a new recording, I don't know if you want to show them this. This is Horowitz, Discovered Treasures, put out on Sony Classical. And there's some, as things go, Horowitz had a relatively narrow repertoire, or in terms of composers he played and such, but there's some nice things in here. Not that they're necessarily the only recordings that exist, but they're ones that he, did in the studio and for whatever reason didn't really prove it. Yeah.
Oh, these are interesting. Oh. Okay. Here it is.
Partially why I got it, and what I'm doing, I like it. Yeah. Oh yeah, if you want to.
Okay.
Try not to move the camera much.
I'll try not to. Sorry, folks, if you're getting seasick there. All right. Okay. Here it is. I hope you can see it. It's a Sony release, previously unreleased recordings by Horowitz, now on CD.
So I've got it for, this one was either $3.98 or $7.98, I forget, but it wasn't very much. It might have been just like total $8 with the shipping. But it's, I thought it was interesting. There's some other things that are coming that should arrive next week, so maybe I'll have them for the show, a few other things that I got. And then I'm going to wait for a while for something to come from Momox in England, where I've gotten some interesting albums. I mean, it's, one of the things I enjoyed when I was in Europe, I certainly admire about the English, in fact. I love their BBC magazine. And I just recently, there's a little plug here, recently re-enlisted with Kindle Unlimited. This is their unlimited reading service. I mean, they don't have everything. I mean, like the newest big top sellers, hot reads and kind of thing, but that's not my kind of reading material anyway. That kind of, greatest romance novels and things coming out from the big authors. Or massive political tomes from journalists and stuff. That's not really my thing. But I discovered, for example, I had through last year a subscription to BBC Magazine, which is really quite good, cover to cover. It's just all, and I mean, the ads, if anything, are just about classical music stuff. And sometimes about like professional organizations and things like that. But I admire this about the British, and I'm a little bit worried about them, what I've seen in the news. There's been massive cuts. England's not doing well.
Oh, yeah.
And there have been massive cuts in the arts, moving institutions around, partially because of the expense. Like London is so expensive that they've actually moved a couple London-based, essentially government-sponsored institutions out of London and sent them into, big British cities a little farther north or something like that. But the passion, that's kind of goes back a long time, doesn't it? But I think especially 18th and 19th century, the hobbyists, the scientific ones.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many great discoveries made in the sciences in the 19th century by amateurs, you know? People looking through their telescopes or through their microscopes or going out and hunting butterflies and things like that. You guys are pretty interesting that way. And you have also a nationalistic passion for your own music. A lot of composers that we catch on to in some cases, some of the really great ones. We know the big guys, but some more 20th century people as well, some really, and 19th century composers really quite good. But anyway, with the Kindle Unlimited, I was pleased and surprised that the BBC magazine is available digitally with the subscription. It's like, it's going to be, I think it's like $10 a month or something like that. And I get to have access to all these books and magazines. But what I was going to say, I got a little bit off a tangent with that, but I lived in Germany as well and was able to get German-produced recordings, and sometimes really cool. You could find like Melodia recordings.
Yeah.
How the hell did they get into West Germany? I don't know. Maybe some people that escaped brought them with them. Those are Russian, Soviet-produced recordings. And then the British make their own things. And I used to order stuff from Amazon England, not Amazon America.
Okay.
When I was based in Cyprus, I was teaching there for 8 years, and I would order some various things through there. Access to some really wonderful stuff. But the cool thing here is the way Amazon works now, of course. Momox, I believe, it's somewhere in England.
Okay.
It's a big, I don't know if they just do recordings, but that's where I've seen a number of them listed. And I'm getting two that are going to come. One is historic recordings of Shura Tchaikovsky from the 40s.
Oh, wow.
And the other one is it Denon or Decca or something?
Denon.
Brilliant Classics.
Mm-hmm.
It's a set of, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I don't know how many there are, of the complete recordings of Hélène Grimaud.
Hélène Grimaud.
From her early recording period. They were really cheap. I mean, the Tchaikovsky was like $4 or $5, and then Grimaud, which would have gone for something like 25 to 27, they had a used one in good condition for $5.98, I think. But anyway, I paid $8 for the shipping from England, and probably about $10 for the CD.
Wow.
So for about $18. You can find some really good stuff. And at this point in my life, I noticed one thing more recently. I I didn't bring it over here, but
Okay.
I don't know if you want to grab it.
Let's grab it.
The orange box of the Mahler symphonies.
Oh,
Probably standing up right there.
I do see it.
So I'm a Mahler nut, a Wagner nut, Bruckner
Yes.
nut. I love this kind of stuff. And I actually performed in the International Mahler Festival, which is out in Boulder, Colorado, 3 years. When I was more or less located out there, I performed in the chamber series that they have. Anyway, I was reading about some of the different conductors, and some people were raving about Klaus Tennstedt. And
Yes.
we don't really know him well enough
Yeah.
here in America because, he was born in the Soviet realm.
Mm-hmm.
He was East German, and he was there for a while. And I don't think he appeared over here before the wall fell, but
Yeah.
I don't know if he got out of it. I think he applied for asylum or something like that eventually.
I didn't know that.
I think he went to Sweden,
Okay.
and that's kind of where he got his start working. And they said, about him, he was a really interesting guy. He says, like Wolfgang Sawallisch in a way, just a very serious, what would you call it? Kind of a Leitermeister for it's a church term, I forget, but just like a, Kapellmeister, yeah. That he was just, really good tradition, very serious, hardworking Kapellmeister.
Side note: we like to finish each other's sentences once in a while.
Well, but then I was reading some reviews about him, and some people saying, "Have you heard Dinstedt's?" Not all. They say they're not all. They have, these are people who talk to each other with razor blades in their hands.
Yeah.
Nasty, bitchy people who
Yeah.
have very specific opinions sometimes. But I did find that there was a general understanding that some of the Mahler symphonies that he did were memorable in a historic way, like amazing. And these are the ones that he did with the London Philharmonic. And it's a really nice box set with booklet, and each one of them is numbered. And each unit's got its own right through the gym. It's a good
What label is this? EMI?
EMI.
Wow.
And I picked this one up. I have to look for a minute, but it was less than $20.
Nice.
I'll
show it to you.
But what I was going to say about that, and the reason why I asked Elmer to kind of pluck it out, I have Bernstein's 60s set, on which I bought in Germany years ago on LP, and then I rebought it, so I have it on CD. I have so many people. I have Eugen Joachim, I have Barenboim with the Berlin Staatskapelle, I think. Interestingly, I do. I have these complete monster box sets that London company put out, Decca or something like that, of Funkaria. Wow. So his Mahlers are in there, one set of them anyway. So I do have those that way. But I was just going to say that lately I find myself, because my library is pretty large. Yeah. Maybe I'll take the camera on a trip and show you a picture sometime. But I pretty much have almost all composers of any consequence represented. Yeah. And pretty decent recordings of a lot of it, I think. What I've been mostly doing in recent years, looking very specifically at the interpretive artist. Yes. Because a lot of this music, of course, identify it. And in some cases, I know it really well enough that I want to hear what they do with it. And so I've noticed that my purchases more recently are about the interpretive artist, pianist, singer, violinist, conductor, the ensemble. Some things I've been excited about is Eugene Ormandy. I did not know this, but before he went to Philadelphia, he went from New York to Minneapolis and did some amazing things with him, really good recordings. And then, why wasn't George Sell and the Cleveland Orchestra so available to us when we were growing up? Could you get recordings of that? I don't remember that easily. No, not really. My first...
at that age, I wasn't even sure who George Sell was.
And, and Cleveland always was kind of up there by itself. In some aspects, people used to think that Cleveland was kind of an armpit of a city because very polluted, very big city. It's like a New Jersey city.
Yeah. Now the story,
with the mob.
The story about George Sell was he helped refine the orchestra.
Oh, big time.
At the very beginning when he first arrived, they went with Mozart and Haydn, went back to the classics, refined their playing, and that was before he started moving into more, bigger material.
Well, I've become a big Sell fan. I haven't bought the big, complete George Sell.
He plays the piano too, believe it or not.
He's a good pianist.
Oh, yeah. Bruno Volta. Oh, yeah.
Actually, Funkaria did okay, too.
I've never
He's in that 3 Mozart piano concerto.
He did?
With Eschenbach and Klein, I think, the two of them.
Walter
Klein and Eschenbach.
Whoa.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But Eschenbach is there. I'm not sure who the other one was. There's a video of it. But, I've become interested in Sell, and I've been trying to find a time when I want to take Elmer up or somebody, because I've never heard them live at Severance Hall.
Oh, God, that would be wonderful.
I know there's some people who have opinions about Franz Felsenhorst, but he came from opera in Vienna and everything in Central Europe, I had no idea he's been with Cleveland now for 25 years or something.
What's his name again?
Welsamust.
He's been there for.
Well, that's what I saw in the journal thing recently.
Wow, that's wild.
I thought there's been people since then because I knew that Eschenbach was up there and different folks.
Yeah.
But he's going to retire from there. He's going to let it go in 26.
Wow.
And I just wanted to go up and hear them.
Yeah.
With a conductor they've been with for a while. And they get some great artists. And the ticket prices we could sit up there.
Yeah.
$30, something like that. If we could go.
We'll take you with us.
Try to go. I've got this wonderful big book about Cleveland Symphony.
Wow.
The history of them and everything. But no, it's just, I mean, I bought Cell, Klaus Titschitz, Mahler. I mean, and then we went through all these French pianists, you know what I mean? I go, oh, by the way, another one you got to look into, Christian Zimmermann, a collection of Szymanowski pieces that he does, a bunch of the different opus numbers. Oh my God! I mean, there are certain pianists. I mean, you cannot doubt the existence of God or divine universal energy when you hear certain people play. Yun-Chan Lim. At that age, I mean, that has to be old soul embodied in the new one, you know. And by that I mean lots of them that amalgamate into Yun-Chan. He's unique in his life, but boy, that kid's incredible. He's doing incredible for his age.
I know.
You know?
I mean, right away, I mean, when he first played at the Van Cliburn competition, I don't remember the repertoire, but he stood out quite a bit. I mean, just from, you know, his presence, his ability to just bring out just inner voices. I mean, it's very old school.
There's talent, and you know, and there's like really superior talent, and greatly, and there's even, I would say, gifted.
Oh yeah,
people.
He's a good-looking kid.
Then there's genius.
Oh yeah,
you know, and I suppose it all has to be at a certain level of artistry. But then there's just some that are geniuses. Oh, yeah. There's like a Marc-Andre Hamelin. He's a new one to me. I mean, I've known about him for a long time. I just never followed him. You know, some of these Canadian pianists I know. But recently got, was it a 2 CD set at least of the complete Godofsky.
Oh,
Chopin
it's about 3 or 4. Yeah,
there's 4 of them in there.
Oh yeah.
Holy God.
Yeah.
I mean, I've looked at some of them, and when I was younger, stupid enough to try to play some of them.
Yeah.
You know, those are pieces that are just for a certain kind of pianist. Yeah. And Hamelin plays them like they're charity.
Like charity.
You know?
Yeah, years ago, when I first read about these Chopin Godofsky etudes, it was from Harold C. Schoenberg. You know, and he cites them in his book, The Great Pianists, and he talks about how Godofsky had written these for the super virtuoso. And he said, and at the time he had published this book, he said that they haven't arrived yet. He says, I think we can confidently say, you know, quite a few of them have arrived now. I mean, and you know, believe it or not, Marc-Andre Hamelin is not the only one that's done all that Godofsky. There is another one that's an unsung hero named Carlos Grant. Grante, and
you've mentioned him.
Yeah, I mentioned it before. This guy.
You have a recording or something like this? I remember you showed me.
I have a recording of him, but I'm not sure if it's Godofsky. But at his young age, when I first heard about him, he was attempting to record the complete works of Godofsky.
Whoa.
That is, you know, if he did it, I mean, I don't know if he did it or not. Okay,
well,
that's what he was attempting to do.
There's some big guys from the recent past. A fellow that did a stint here in Columbus for a while. And the Cuban pianist, Georges Bolet.
Yeah.
They also played Godofsky sometimes.
Yeah,
and, I mean, both of them had the kind of... I mean, what I remember, there's video of this, if you ever watch on YouTube, of Georges Bolet playing some of the left-hand etudes that Godowski did.
Yeah.
And he studied with Godowski for a little,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
He
yeah.
played for him when he was
Oh,
young.
yeah. And Hoffman.
Oh, of course, Hoffman.
Joseph
Yeah.
Hoffman as well.
But you know, you think about, I mean, did Rachmaninoff ever play anything by Godowski? Or is he too busy, kind of promoting his own music, perhaps?
I don't know if he did or not.
Because Rachmaninoff was regarded in his time, by some people as probably the pianist.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the way that the guy could play, just astonishing, and very easy, very fun.
Oh, yeah, very, yeah.
You know, I thought it was interesting that Horowitz always had in his studio, at his home, he had 3 portraits over the piano on the wall. There was Hoffman, Rachmaninoff, and interestingly, Paderewski.
Yeah.
You know, the unfortunate thing about that poor guy is that he came into the recording medium later in his career, in his life. And he can still play.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's that famous, really old guy, and he did that movie that plays the Liszt.
Hungarian Rhapsody number 2.
Is it?
And did you see the way he opens up the C sharp at the beginning?
Yeah.
With the thumbs.
Yes.
Thumbs. Ba-bum. Or is it left, right? Ba-bum.
Yeah.
Da-da.
Yeah.
And then da-da-ba-da.
Yeah.
Thumbs.
Well.
Earlier we were talking about Mahler. You brought up this. I wanted to bring this out.
Okay. That's me going down that path into the jungle, so excuse me. Sorry.
Anyways, well, I practically went through the jungle to find this one. Okay, this I found at one of our thrift stores. Kathy, when Kathy says, my wife, Kathy, if she says, we should go to the thrift store today. And usually her intuition is correct.
This guy has dug up. You haven't seen enough of our shows yet, but if just for those portions, we should put him up online. He's like, what was that guy?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Oh yeah, it's came to that.
Finding classical music and piano stuff.
Yeah, and beating off the natives and stuff. Here's what I found.
No, he meant that in a certain way.
Okay, are you ready? What did I say?
Beating off. Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry, kids.
No. We didn't mean it that way.
No.
In our generation, it literally meant beating people off.
Yeah.
No, I just
okay. All right.
Just to embarrass you.
So why do you always do that?
Because I'm a big owl.
We're
just having fun.
Yeah, I know we are. But okay, here's what I found. Are you ready for it?
Oh.
This is Gustav Mahler's 1895 re-orchestration of Beethoven's Symphony Number 9. Let me show this to you. I texted you a photograph of this CD.
Yeah.
It's incredible. We've only read about these things in history books, but here it is.
Somebody actually performed it.
Somebody actually.
So what did you notice different? This is the 5th? No, the 9th.
Ninth Symphony. Okay, well, here's what I noticed. He's added more brass in it, but you know what? I couldn't help thinking, I'm so used to hearing Beethoven's Ninth the way it is. At some points of the work, I don't want to say it stopped being Beethoven, but in a lot of ways, you can hear the Mahlerisms, if I can coin that word, about the work. The brass comes in the second movement, where they support the woodwinds and the capo, I guess. I'm not sure if it's the capo. And the double timpanis. Sometimes you have only one timpanist. And at other points, there are 2 timpanists. And it just adds that extra boom or bounce, or what do you want to call it. Now, I've never heard of any of these musicians here. Let's see, they're from Janáček's side of the neighborhood. What was it called? Brno?
Brno. Yeah.
Brno?
Brno.
Brno.
Yep.
Okay. And it's, where is it? Czechoslovakia?
Yeah. It was the Janacek Opera Choir.
Yeah.
But there's definitely American connections here. This guy, the conductor, Peter Tiboris, is the founder and music director of New York's Manhattan Philharmonic. And I don't know what all the connections are, but they thank, special thanks to the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, at least the librarian. Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I read just a little something here?
Yeah, sure.
This is very interesting what they say. I won't get into it too far. Hopefully we're projecting enough from over here, but it starts out, had Gustav Mahler, 1860 to 1911, been granted a substantial longevity, he would undoubtedly have remained musically active until the 30s. Yeah, would have been 70 or so.
Yeah.
That hypothetical activity, moreover, might have meant a phonographic legacy for posterity comparable to those left by Mahler's three great near contemporaries, Richard Strauss, Felix Weingartner, and Arturo Toscanini. Alas, it was not meant to be. Mahler died young, I think it was 1911, yeah. And it fell to another great conductor, Arthur Nikisch, to make the first recording, I didn't know this, of a complete symphony, the Beethoven Fifth in 1913, with the Berlin Philharmonic. I didn't know that.
Wow.
All we know firsthand of Mahler the performer, as opposed to Mahler the composer, are a few fragments of his symphonies in Weltmignon piano rolls, which I have on cassette tape. Notoriously unreliable, if nonetheless intriguing. I'm almost done here. Fortunately, there's a plenitude of secondary evidence to console us. For one, there are the often conflicting interpretations by various Mahler disciples, Oskar Fried, Wilhelm Mengelberg, I didn't know he was connected with Mahler, Bruno Walter, which I knew he was his intendant, and also Otto Klemperer. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Mahler set his hand to a number of pieces, and this wasn't so unusual at that time, because I think it had to do with people being used to the sounds of the big ensembles.
Oh,
you know, and filling up the big halls that now were a real phenomenon. Yeah, people would play around with this stuff, but this is very interesting because I was thinking when I saw this. Now, I don't know that he did anything to it, but you know, when Wagner was trying to get funds to complete the building of Bayreuth and to get the festival really rolling, he was traveling all over Europe, from London to Russia, all over the place, and specifically most of the time conducting Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. He was traveling around, and that became a trademark specialty of his on the road when he was doing that. That's the way he made money. I mean, he had money from the king, Mad King Ludwig, who helped build it, get it going and stuff. But eventually, after King Ludwig committed suicide or whatever, how he died, that kind of came to a conclusion, and the orchestra or the opera house went through a lot of trouble for a long time. After Wagner died, Cosima ran it from his death in '83 until she died in 1930, I think it was, and she pretty much ran it probably until maybe the last 8 to 10 years when Siegfried took over at some point. But I have read about this famous reorchestration, but it's interesting if we looked it up. There's a lot of things that Mahler tended to.
Really?
And interestingly, in the time, there's differing opinions from the audiences.
Excuse me.
Bless you. And people that heard the thing. Some people didn't like the differences, and then some people did.
Yeah.
But I think that's cool. I wouldn't mind listening to it.
Yeah, I picked it up because I wanted to hear. Well, it's Mahler. I mean, you really can't beat that. And according to the program notes, he's not the first one to do this.
No.
Apparently, Wagner might have
probably dressed it up
messed
himself.
with the notes too. Stokowski, but I recall one of my colleagues telling me that even Mozart has his own arrangement of Handel's Messiah. So
Well, it's interesting because in that book, which I
yeah.
threatened to always get finished, but I've been collecting more books and getting distracted by other things too. But there's one that I've been working on, which is 19th century pianism by the Scottish author. That's the book underneath the one with the cello.
Okay.
But I've made my way through part of it. It's a wonderful book. If you listen to some of the recordings of these pianists from the turn of the 20th century, one of the things that these guys still had in common was writing their own original pieces or transcriptions of things. That was kind of the thing. It was expected that you would put your unique mark on.
Exactly.
Now, Hoffman is interesting because some of those early wonderful pieces, the Sanctuary, Kaleidoscope, those are original pieces that he wrote.
Yeah.
And actually, in terms of Hoffman, he wasn't so much a transcriber as he was an actual composer. I think. But then, of course, Godowsky, oh my gosh, but he also did that, I think, in almost a more compositional way. Because he took the music, like I played some of his, from the book of, what it's called, Medieval and Renaissance works that he transcribed.
Yeah.
I used to do a program where I played 3 different ones. I played it in Bayreuth. I had a concert in Germany, for example. They were wonderful to play. They're difficult, but they are very pianistic. And I don't think he had a massive hand. I mean, Rachmaninoff sometimes is a stretch for me because certain things, it's just like, forget it. Yeah. I have the same problem occasionally with some things by Schumann. I wonder if he had a bigger hand or long fingers or something.
Well, remember, the toccata was originally in D major. Could you imagine having to play that thing in D major?
But Godowsky's stuff, the good thing about it is, with at least the things that I played, the things that I looked at and that I learned, they all fit within the broader expanse of my hand.
Yeah.
Which that was nice. But this is also true if you know, like, for example, Stokowski.
Yeah.
This was not just the pianist, but the violinist did their own originals. And then the conductors in many cases, but rarer, because it's a bigger deal to transcribe something for a whole orchestra.
Yeah.
But Stokowski's rather famous for his transcriptions of a number of things. And he, of course, famous for the Bach transcriptions.
Yeah.
But, he even dressed up Wagner and did some things himself, and I think that they're really good. Actually, I'm understanding from what I'm reading, when I was growing up, when we were growing up, let's say we were born post the famous Glenn Gould 55 recording of the Bach Goldberg Variations. Yeah. And then that was a time where Gustav Leonhardt and some of these people were kind of beginning to really force world audiences to look at historic performance practice. Just kind of obstinately coming in and doing this thing. Every college, my college, Wittenberg, I went to, had a Renaissance, what do they call it? But people that played the instruments, performed all that music from the Renaissance. It was early performance stuff.
Yeah.
There was, because of that, and this, also I think post Second World War II, with all these German musicologists coming in and bringing a kind of almost scientific approach to the analysis of music, understanding theory and constructions. I mean, one of the big ones was the guy whose famous Beethoven sonatas, I have his edition of it. The German musicologist. We had to learn his kind of analysis of music. Schenker, Heinrich Schenker, too much.
Okay.
I think there's a kind of combination of things like that, and we got really hit with it in the United States.
Yeah.
Plus, I think with Leonard Bernstein really beginning to shine like the great, amazing genius talent that he was, Bernstein was demonstrating that we Americans, homebred, could do it as well as anybody.
Oh, yeah.
And there started to be then this Cold War competition between American concert pianists and Soviet ones, and all that. And then, my God, when Van Cliburn won the Tchaikovsky competition, and came back, he got a ticket thing,
ticker tape
parade in New York City and Manhattan, like the astronauts did later on. 10 years later, when the astronauts came and walked on the moon, Van Cliburn got it first.
Yep,
he did. That's how big that stuff was. But there was, I went off on that tangent because it's Stokowski. Stokowski was hugely famous. He's the guy that is, memorialized in Bugs Bunny cartoons with the big white mane of hair.
Yeah, and no baton.
Conducting with the hands and stuff. Yeah. He's also featured his actual visage and his personage. He shakes hands with Mickey in
Fantasia.
Fantasia, right? And he conducted all that music. He prepared all of that. But when I used to talk to some of my professors and people, they used to go, Stokowski, and it's like this old
guy, I know.
Indulgent kind of crap like that, And it was unfortunate because they were so keen on the whole modern scholarship. And I remember one time when, I think it was my master's degree, I brought Mozart and Beethoven to Howard. Howard was pretty cool. But Howard was the one that said, these editions that you're bringing in, why don't you start looking at Henley or Wiener Urtext? Was Howard saying that? Because the orange books from Wiener Urtext, which are quite nice, really well done. But then Henley as well. Those became, I brought in Peter's edition of something. And Howard said, because it was like one of the list students, it was their edition of it.
Yeah.
I said, there's a new list edition actually being made in Hungary. I have some of them, There's a true list edition that began to be produced. And when I traveled in Serbia, I found a bunch of them cheap and bought them. But stuff like that, there's this kind of snooty emphasis on the new.
Yeah.
And what I'm pleased by is there's I don't know how long it's been going on, but there's an interest in some of these guys now from the early recording period. Yeah. And Stokowski is getting a whole new reevaluation in terms of
breathing life back.
You can look at some videos on YouTube of him. For example, what was really cool, some of these guys, Stokowski and Eugene Ormandy, for example, they did a buttload of 20th century repertoire.
Oh yeah, sure they did.
And there's this wonderful work, I think it's by William Schumann, the American composer, that Stokowski does.
Yeah.
Very complicated orchestral setting.
Triptychs
with chorus and stuff like that.
Or something. Yeah.
Really impressive. And yet what was really cool about Stokowski, which I liked about him, and what I like about his conducting, and I find this true with, very specifically, like with Bernstein's Mahler recordings. Stokowski, no matter how complicated the music gets, you can hear all of it. Not like voices can hear and then there's one that peaks up above. Not that kind of unfortunate thing we have to do too often with modern pianos where you just sublimate and pull up a top voice, breathe one at a time out, because you can't, it's hard to do it otherwise. You can voice pianos and change them and stuff to change that, but the average Steinway type piano, is made to be impressionistic color schemes with, motifs and melodies popping up out of the murkiness. Old straight string pianos were not like that. But what I love about Bernstein's Mahler is any one of those, you pull them out and listen to them, and at any time you choose, it's like listening to a chamber ensemble. Wow. Massive New York Philharmonic playing. But he could bring all the parts out, and it doesn't sound pointillistic in a quirky way.
Yeah.
It's just that everything is so clear and balanced, delineated in a kind of way, but blended, of course, as well, that there's a great emotional and musical tapestry. But whatever you would choose to listen to is right there. And Stokowski was like that, I think.
Oh yeah.
You know, and apparently he was an organist, as I
Yeah.
understand. And I've been playing the organ more since I got this job at the church a year ago. And I'm appreciating what you can do with an organ. Because right now we do 2 services a day on Sunday. I play the organ for the first one in the same repertoire on the piano. And the second one, it's interesting what I can do at the piano, which won't work at the organ, but also what I can accomplish at the organ, which really doesn't come across on the piano.
Yeah.
You know? So, anyway, go ahead. We were talking about that wonderful Mahler.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I brought some more stuff. You did a foray to the turn of the century pianists.
Yeah.
I did bring in pieces by a turn of the century pianist. Sort of. He was of a younger generation, but I don't know if I ever brought these to you, but we talked about it every once in a while. He's Hungarian. He was dubbed the second Horowitz. His name is György Cifra.
György Cifra!
Yeah.
Where did you get these?
We talked about these. I keep forgetting.
These, I mean, there's videos of him.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And I know that Yuja Wang has been, maybe keep that one.
Okay.
Stay, but I want some. Oh, there it is. Yuja Wang has been playing some of his stuff.
Oh, yeah. A couple of them.
Did you buy these new?
I did buy these new.
Oh, boy.
Look at this, folks. This is a hardback scores
Wow.
of transcriptions by György Cifra. They're hard to find. They're published by
See, Peters.
Foundation.
But it's the
Cifra.
György Cifra edition.
Yeah. So here it is. Look at that.
Beautiful paper, really nice.
64th notes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edition. Oh, this is interesting. Here's his dressing up of the Hungarian dances of Brahms.
Yeah.
Then here's his Etude de Concert,
Yeah.
including the Trittstretch polka, which we all
Yeah.
know of him doing. I know there's been a few pianists I'm thinking of, at least another one like him.
Yeah.
He was influenced. He wasn't a Romani, was he? Really?
Romani?
A gypsy.
No. Well, he has a gypsy-like qualities.
Yeah.
Now he's interesting. He was. I did some reading about him years ago. I think when I was in college. I mean, my first encounter with his playing was in college, and it just. I mean, just the absolute technique just blew me away. I've never heard scales of octaves go that fast my entire life. I was 17 at the time, and one of the record jackets had a fairly good long bio about what he went through. Apparently, his career was interrupted by him being imprisoned in one of the concentration camps for a number of years.
Yeah.
And he talked about hauling boulders and rocks and cutting down.
I think when he was young, he played the piano, but in some really different venues, right?
Oh yeah, they call him the greatest cocktail pianist ever lived.
Well, he had a personal predilection for, one might say, light jazz.
Oh yeah,
stuff
absolutely.
Like that. Not bebop or anything like that.
No, but
kind of an Oscar Peterson kind of.
well, I was going to say Art Tatum.
Or Art Tatum.
Art Tatum. I mean, the scales are very, very comparable to Art Tatum. There's an interesting story by Thomas Vasari. He is Hungarian,
right?
And he remembers after going to a rehearsal, he and his buddies went to this bar, and they heard the piano playing. And he goes to the maitre d'. He says, "Who's playing?" He says, "Oh, Cifra." He says, "Oh, well, who's the other player?" "No, it's only Cifra." and if you listen to this playing, it does sound like two people. I mean, especially, with the way these things are going.
I remember it was about the time I was starting the master's degree at 80, what year was that? 86.
Yeah.
In Madison.
Yeah.
My doctoral colleague, Jonathan Saucus, had studied with our teacher, Howard. And then uncharacteristically, Howard let him continue in his next degree because his wife was studying voice and doctoral voice program, and it took a while to get out of those schools with the doctorate. But it was actually due to Jonathan's fascination with the Russian pianists. I don't know where he managed to find access to them and such, but he really started to share his enthusiasm about Richter and Gilels. Of course, I knew Gilels. We were talking about that at Camelot Music.
Yeah.
At first, it seemed like all we had access to was generally American-produced recordings, so American artists that we would have known. But I remember when the first Seraphim and Angel recordings showed up there, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember, for example, Dennis Bray, French horn player.
Yeah.
One of the greatest, but I remember that was on a Seraphim label. These are all LPs. Yeah. And then, I think it was Decca, which is also British, right?
Yeah, Decca, London.
And then what was that thing, London Full Frequency or something, or was that Decca as well?
Oh.
There's 4 letters. But
Hi-Fi.
It's the quadraphonic thing.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking. I could see it in my head.
But it was English based as well. And then, the real exciting thing, Deutsche Grammophon.
Deutsche Grammophon.
Finally. Now, come on, people in New York must have had access, because the first time I went to Tower Records with my fiancée at the time, Robin, down in downtown Manhattan, we went to the Tower Records. Oh my God, it was...
It's like being a candy store.
Died and gone to heaven. I mean, to the classical music, because, Camelot Records, there was that whole section over there on the wall.
Yep.
It's several bins. It's quite a bit of classical music. It was a pretty good choice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other stuff in Camelot.
Oh, yeah.
But I went to Tower Records, and this was a multi-story building. And I said, well, where do you keep the classical records? That's up on the 3rd floor. And I got up there, and I realized it was the entire 3rd floor. Ooh, oh, my God. And the really amazing thing is when I was there, they were just beginning to introduce CDs. Just beginning. They had CDs. I didn't even know what they were. I just looked at this little round disc.
Yeah, I thought.
But I
these are records.
Oh my God, Elmer. For example.
Yeah.
And you remember what we used to have access to at Camelot. Any of you guys our age would kind of know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
In the Midwest. Probably not Chicago, maybe not St. Louis, but, the kind of place where we grew up. There was a historic piano section. Multiple LPs of Joseph Hoffman. Multiple LPs of Leopold Kodowski. Multiple LPs of some other guys I hadn't even heard of yet in my life. And this was just a little section where it was just dead pianists, Yeah. And then the Arthur Rubinstein selection just went on for bin after bin after bin after bin. I said to Robin, oh God, I wish I had a legacy. I could have walked out of there with so many recordings, we would have had to rent a trailer to bring it back to Ohio.
Yeah, I heard 18-wheeler. 18-wheeler.
Oh my God. But the reason I'm saying this is because I didn't really even know about Chiffre until I started to get around Jonathan in the master's degree. I was 24 years old by then, and I think part of it, because he never came to the United States. He was only based in Europe.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, the later on in his life, he became based in Paris. Right?
Yeah, he sure did.
So he stayed in France. I don't even think he went across the channel to England, not sure of at all.
No, I don't think he did. He's pretty much...
Because he was active for a period of time, poor guy. He was born before the Second World War, and then he was imprisoned for a period of time. And then he came out and was in Hungarian communism. And I pretty much think he dealt with that. Did he escape, or did he wait for it? No, he didn't live long enough.
No, he didn't.
He must have somehow got out.
Yeah.
And ended up in France.
Yeah, but he did live long enough. for his son to become a conductor.
What's his name?
I believe it's Adam
Schifrin?
Schifrin. Yeah, I think it's Adam. I'm pretty sure it is.
But you guys must know who we're talking about. And if you don't, there's some really amazing videos that are available on YouTube.
YouTube. Oh gosh.
Georgie Schifrin. And how do you spell his name? Tell him.
Okay, it's CZIFFRA.
You can also look up Yuja Wang.
Yuja Wang?
Yuja Wang is our Horowitz slash Georgie Schifrin slash all those amazing types. I mean, she's honestly not my favorite.
No,
pianist. And I don't know, I don't mean that against her.
Yeah, I mean,
because my God, that woman has a consummate technique.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
She plays this stuff, you know, with a suppleness and an ease.
Yeah.
I mean, and in some ways, clarity, like when she played the whatever version it is of the Carmen variations of Horowitz.
Yeah.
It's cleaner than Horowitz's. Really, it was astonishing. And a little fast.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, Georgie, you know, that the guy was playing from his heart.
Yeah.
And there's just these famous warm-up videos before he was going to start recording some stuff. It's just crazy.
It is crazy.
It's nuts. And I mean, it's like when you see, if you get the chance to see some of the things by Horowitz and stuff, these guys came out of a tradition where being a composer, like Horowitz, only became a concert pianist because of the reality of the beginning of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
He was from a well-to-do Jewish family in Kiev, right?
Yeah.
And he was, of course, trained extraordinarily well, but his passion was to be a composer.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably a classist thing because it was more, you know, to be a fine composer.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you know, but it was all because of the chaos of the beginning of the Soviet Union. I mean, basically it was 1917, right? It was the year before the end of the First World War, but there was 2 tries at it. But by then, he was born in 13?
Something like that, 1913, 17, something like that. Yeah, but you got the right decade.
But coming into the 20s anyway, and with who he was and everything, the way he was trained. Yeah. Plus, there was a massive anti-Semitic movement everywhere in the world probably. I mean, of course, notoriously with the Nazis. Yeah. But the French, a lot of French people, especially the ones in the South, more than happy to round them up and put them on the trains for Poland. And then, my God, there was Stalin on his own. Stalin was responsible possibly for as many or more deaths in the 20th century than Hitler was. But he was our ally in the fight against the Nazis, so people tend to carefully overlook that. And there are some former Soviet citizens who have huge respect and tolerance for Stalin for what he managed to do for the country, but at the expense of what?
Yeah.
But why am I talking about this?
Well, we got talking about Schifrin.
Horowitz.
Horowitz.
Yeah, so he, interestingly, there was an amazing trio of people. He talks about how when they got ready, they all knew they were going to leave. So Horowitz managed to put money inside of his shoes or places
to fund his concert tour.
And the first one to do well was, there was 3 of them. There was Horowitz, Nathan Milstein, and Gregor Piatigorsky. All Jews, Russian Jews. Yeah. First one to do well was Piatigorsky.
Yeah.
Because people were so shocked by how great a cellist he was in Berlin. They immediately offered him principal cellist of the Berlin Philharmonic. So his first job was there. Milstein and Horowitz kept moving west as need be. Horowitz famously did some performances in Hamburg. Yeah. Then he hit Paris. And if you want to know about Horowitz's impact on Paris, You read Arthur Rubinstein's
Oh yeah.
stuff about him when he showed up. It was like
young years.
It was like an
Yeah.
asteroid falling on the city of pianists.
Yeah.
And then Nathan Milstein, interestingly, who I love very much, I have an old LP collection of the sonatas and
You say?
partitas.
By Bach. Okay. Yeah. Now, have you ever heard of this?
Milstein was incredible.
Have you heard of his arrangement of Liszt Mephisto Waltz for solo violin?
No.
Oh, check that one out.
Wow.
Oh, yes, solo violin.
That's the amazing thing. That's the kind of violinist this guy was.
Yeah.
We got hit with hyphens.
We did
You
get
know, hyphens came to America, and that for us was penultimate violin.
Yeah.
As I've gotten more into it, historic stuff, there's an incredible school of violin playing from Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Great violinists.
Oh, wonderful.
And Milstein was one of them. And the British were so lucky because he was satisfied with London.
Yeah.
And that's where he stayed, had his career and everything, and performed. But if you get your hands on the things he did, he was, busy, plenty busy. Mostly, I think, because of politics. He probably stayed in London, maybe Western Europe. I don't know. Milstein never really came to the United States. He probably did.
He did. I think he did.
We didn't know about him so much.
Yeah, we didn't know about,
It's a Deutsche Grammophon box set that I have of the partitas and sonatas. There's a 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3.
Yeah.
When he said one sonata, one partita like that. It's Deutsche Grammophon, but
sadly, nobody does the Mephisto waltz on the violin.
Well,
There's maybe just a small handful. I'm waiting to see if the new violinist, Roman Kim, makes an attempt with it.
Huh.
Have you heard of him?
I've heard of his name, yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's probably our today's version of Paganini.
Oh, really?
He really is. He really is. There's I don't recall the work, but there was a Paganini variations Paganini composed that lots of violinists play.
So Kim means that he's a Korean.
Yeah,
That's a Korean name.
Yeah, it is Korean, but he seems so Americanized. I mean, just looking at him,
It's really extraordinary to me.
he looks like there's a video of him doing some encores on stage where he's got these jeans and a white T-shirt. He comes up there,
Joshua Bell.
and he looks all badass. He comes out.
Or who's the British guy that's so famous?
Nigel Kennedy.
Nigel Kennedy.
Yeah. Well, anyways, he does this
Expected to
encore.
roll into a Harley on stage.
He does Owner of a Lonely Heart on violin. Yeah, by Yes.
Oh, that'll lead us into the conversation.
And then he segues into some Michael Jackson too. And everybody just goes nuts. So, but yeah, he's incredible. But anyways, his performance of this Variations by Paganini is the only known performance of this one notorious page that every violinist skips. Every violinist. Pinchas Zuckerman has skipped this page. Everyone.
Wow.
So and somehow he found a way to make it work.
There's a little promotion for slippedisc.com of Norman Liebrecht.
Yeah.
This fellow in London who's all things classical music. Really kind of keeps his fingers on the pulses everywhere in the world he can. And part of the annoyance and the pleasure are often the comments that believe. Because I think a number of them know each other. And
Yep.
they can get really nasty and quite personal about things sometimes. But it just shows sometimes the passion that people have about their opinions about things. But what I do appreciate is that sometimes, Norman will just keep you apprised of all kinds of things, artists, orchestras, management problems, cancellations back in the COVID time. I mean, wow. They were canceling things left and right, and people replacing each other and stuff. It's still going on to this time.
Yeah.
But what I do like is that sometimes they embed recordings of the people that are featured. And recently, yes, I'm dead here.
Yes.
Remember the name of that lady? That I said,
The new one? Lydia
Fichtholz, right?
Fichtholz, yeah, something like that. Yeah, 100 years old.
Yeah.
The last living pupil.
Well, so they say. There were some people that wrote in and said, I think there's still some other folks still around.
Really? I didn't know that.
But, and then came younger. They probably, he should have qualified as the oldest living.
Oldest living? Okay, didn't know that.
Pupil of
Heinrich.
Sure, picture. Here it comes in. There she is.
Sure.
Lydia Fichtholz. It's a different spelling, a little Russian-esque.
Here she is.
But there she is. And they included some recordings.
Yeah.
Of Michael Fichtholz, and I don't know if that's her husband or her son.
Yeah, we don't know.
Some relative. It was on Melodia album. And they're doing Mozart Sonata and then some different pieces, Scriabin, Bizet and stuff, which interestingly are her arrangements for piano and violin. They're really quite charming. And the playing, whoever the violinist is, her husband or son or whatever, he's a really good violinist. And Fichtenholz, it's written Fichtenholz, but I've seen it written differently. That's the German spelling. Fichte is, I can't think in English now. I can see it. Forget what the word in English is for Fichte. But it means the wood from this kind of tree. But you see words like that, names like that. She was Jewish. She just died.
She just died?
Yeah. But no, she wasn't. She was still alive, right? Yeah. It was her birthday. Yeah. So it was Scriabin, Bizet, Albanians, and then a piece that she herself wrote, Scarlatti, as well, all arrangements. But anyway, this is in the flipdisc.com. It's free. Now, he does have like some kind of maybe a paid subscription thing. I don't know what that does.
Yes.
But sometimes if the article is drawn from somewhere else and said, read the whole article here, and it'll send you to the origin of it. Sometimes I might throw you into France or into Germany, where you should know German or French if you're going to read the whole article. But it really keeps you informed about stuff. And frankly, you can always freely look back through the archives of things that they put up. There have been a number of extraordinary violinists. There was a celebration of a Russian violin professor who was supported and admired by Oistrakh. And I think he might have even discovered him way back when. They knew each other.
Yeah.
Oistrakh more or less went into the concert profession.
Yeah.
And this other guy...
He premiered the Violin Concerto by Cacciatore.
Yeah. This guy, he just decided he was happy becoming a professor at the Moscow Conservatory in his mid-20s or later 20s.
Yeah.
And he did it for 50 years or something. But the really cool thing is I don't remember what the piece is, but this was an embedded recording that was in a slip disc. It was just beyond Paganini in terms of variations. It was a variation thing. And they just became more and more ridiculously complex.
Yeah.
But he played with this kind of graciousness and elan and real virtuosity. It's like, I always really especially admired that, because some people always complain, he became a professor, his technique with the shit, never did play anymore kind of stuff. No, my teacher Howard, he played all the time. Other colleagues did as well. But I remember specifically the violinist, there were 3 on the faculty. Vartan Manoukian, who was an Armenian violinist, tiny little guy, short little guy, who'd been a graduate of the Paris Conservatory, and the concert master for the Orchestre de la Suisse Romande for a period of time under Ernst Ansermet. And he was the kind of one of the artist violin professors at Madison. I remember a few of his performances. One that I remember is the unaccompanied Bartók Sonata for solo violin. And the second movement is a fugue. 3 voice at least. This is the best fugue playing I ever heard any instrumentalist play.
Wow.
You could hear everything beautifully together. I'm talking pianists too, but on the violin.
Wow.
One little violin with 4 strings. and it was baritone. I mean, but it's a real fugue, really densely worked out fugue. I'll never forget that performance. And then in the second half, Howard came out and they did the Busoni second sonata.
Oh god.
You know that work?
Yeah.
For violin and piano with all those variations. You know, it's like 30 of them or something like that. Oh my God, that was an incredible thing. But no, I'll shut up, Harry. But there's just these violinists, these really great, unknown, they'll never be well known, extraordinary artists in a part of the world where they're almost doomed to be forgotten because people want to forget that period of time. You know? But they could be dredged up archaeologically, musically, you know, and then there'll be a whole new, you know, renaissance of these lost talents and names. But I'm curious, you know, we talk a little bit about the new performers and stuff because before we got on camera, we were talking about this in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Well, one question is kind of, for example, since you mentioned this Roman Kim, and Yun-Chan Lim, and there's another guy, another Korean pianist, who won a big piano concerto competition in Australia, or silver at least.
Okay.
I don't remember his name. What's in the water in South Korea? I mean, all of a sudden, I especially noticed that with the pianists, like some of the big winners. So the question is, probably what it amounts to?
Yeah.
What's the original influence on the people that are teaching these people?
Oh.
Where they study, where they come from. I think it'd be really interesting to find out who these prize winners' teachers are and who they studied with, or where in the world they studied. Where did they get their influence? I mean, how does a guy like Yun-Chan Lim, at the age of 18, was he?
Yeah, he was 18.
How old was, and Van Cliburn was not too old when he won.
No, he was about 20.
20?
Yeah, about 20. Yeah.
Well, I think Van Cliburn is a genius.
Oh, yeah.
Or was. And I think Yun-Chan Lim is a genius.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, there's talent, there's gifted.
Yeah.
There's
super
modesty.
Talent, and there's modesty. He's going back, after he won the Van Cliburn, he said he was going back to school.
With his teacher.
He's going back to school.
He's fulfilling his performance obligations,
Yeah.
but he's not going whole hog on it.
Yeah.
He said, there's clearly more I have to learn.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to that attitude.
What's this well that he's drinking from, you know? I mean, it reminds me in a way of, who's the string tie guy, the Russian?
Pogorelich?
Yeah, Pogorelich. Who, what was her name? Argerich walked off the jury because she thought that there was an obvious antagonism towards it because he wore the black
leather pants,
the little
string tie, the silk shirt.
With the hair and everything. He was clearly unique.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was also a model.
And I think she also suggested, you know, that it's not a surprise, but I've been reading about this. Some of these competitions, it's not a surprise who wins because of the wheeling and dealing that goes on between some of the teachers.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know exactly all the reasons why, but he became famous because he didn't win the Chopin competition. But Martha Argerich walked out on the whole thing because she was so disgusted that he didn't make it to the finals.
Yeah.
Because as far as she was concerned, and I loved it was, didn't you tell me this story about Richter was on a jury one time, was it?
At the Tchaikovsky?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who was it? What was the story?
It was a story. It was the Tchaikovsky competition that Van Cliburn had won.
Oh, was that it?
And the jury members were
and Richter was on the jury.
And Richter was on the jury. And they were instructed to rate the competitors from 1 to 10. And by the end of the competition, he had given all the competitors zeros, but gave Van Cliburn 100. 100.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, but I was stunned. I don't follow this competition stuff, and in general, this is interesting. I have devoted myself sometimes to some contemporary research and performance and things like that I did. But I don't know if it's my influence from my grandparents or where it all comes from. I've been drawn to the past, and I've been drawn to things that have survived.
Yeah.
You know, that in a sense, I'd say I'm a skeptic about almost everything. And I've gone into interesting fields. I mean, paranormal, UFO stuff. I mean, I've had very, very specific personal experiences where it's not enough to say, oh, it's in your imagination. Bullshit, it was my imagination. Because I'm a fundamentally, academically, scientifically trained person who, to some extent by nature, and if not because of the training, you're supposed to be skeptical.
Yeah.
You need the evidence to prove it, right?
Yep.
Well, in some of those areas, I've had enough evidence that I feel like there's something to what I'm saying and thinking about it. In music, I think it's the same thing for me. There's a reason why some things last and some things don't.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes I have, and I, in my own personal way, have explored some composers. Not all the time. I mean, come on, Beethoven, not everything that came out of his mind was fabulous. The same is true of Mozart. I mean, when people start writing 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200 pieces of music, there's some extraordinary consistency in, I mean, you know, put it this way, there's a certain polish in Mozart, which is you expect, right? The same is true of Haydn in a kind of way, although his is more an evolution of things over time, right? But Beethoven wrote some pretty idiotic stuff. Da-da-dum, 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 da-da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-dum, da-ga-da-ga-da-ga-da-ga-dum. You know what I'm talking about? That's that famous septet thing with the, was it minuet? We learned, I mean, how did that piece become famous as everybody's favorite piano music by Beethoven?
Well,
why not the slow movement of the Eighth Sonata or something like that? I mean, why that? Or the other one I remember in the Green, everybody's favorite music was the Athens, Ruins of Athens.
Oh, Ruins of Athens?
Is that it?
Yeah, that's the one. But he has a set of variations in D major, which really doesn't come off very badly, in my opinion.
Okay.
Now, there is also a transcription of it by Anton Rubinstein.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard it played, actually. Yeah.
And you...
Oh, come on. I mean, when you got the third, the fifth, the sixth, I actually love the fourth symphony. Okay. Pretty much 3 through 9, okay?
Okay.
And you got the choral fantasy. You got all the piano concertos, but especially 4 and 5.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Well, they're fine. You know, they're good. Yeah. Oh my God, the string quartets. You know, and there's so much. I mean, like they did the Dover books. They took the Brahms string quartets and wrote them for him. He did.
Yeah.
Somebody did. Yeah. So you can actually play the Brahms quartets as 400 pieces on a piano. Those are more than playing some other things.
Yeah.
But my point is, I got a little off track.
That's okay.
I didn't want to talk about the composers as much as we were talking. I want to get back to it because it's what I love about Yun-Chan Lim's playing is what I've learned to really love. As I listened to some of this stuff when I was young. I have some of these LPs that are recordings from 78s. You know. Yeah. I actually have an Ignaz Friedman. At least on one side, you know, and I first heard him. I've got Busoni piano rolls, Busoni piano rolls, Egon Petri piano rolls, and early acoustic recordings. Yeah. There's other guys on there. There's Moritz Rosenthal, or some of those really old people like that. And then, oh my God, some of the acoustic recordings of Hoffman playing his early pieces.
Oh yeah,
Kaleidoscope.
Yeah,
I've got that music, and I'm very quietly on my own trying to learn Kaleidoscope and the other one. I can't think of the name of it right now, but
there's Berceuse.
Not the Berceuse. No, there's more famous than that. There's the Kaleidoscope, and there's the
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary. Yeah.
Okay.
they're really hard because
Yeah.
it's like Ravel's Gaspar in a way.
Yeah.
That when one of those arpeggiated, watery kind of things happens, some notes change.
Yeah.
And then they change again. It's like, well, the kaleidoscope, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's like turning the little thing, and the little pieces of colored glass change slightly. It's just, I mean, it's a nice challenge if I can ever get myself to where I can truly play it, because I think music is beautiful, and it's wonderful when you can learn it well enough you can just turn it on and just play a piece like that. It's a lot of time investment. It's not one that I'm looking at for any reason to do in a concert anytime soon. But it's sometime before I die, I can play it.
Yeah.
I'm going to try it out on some people,
Absolutely.
But I've been
tricks.
drawn very much. I mean, I grew up with Arthur Rubinson. We talked about this. Big hero. Americans like Leon Fleischer. Some people like that. But over my life, I found myself going backwards, where there were no distractions of the modern age, and people had nothing to do but just refine their art to a point where, oh my God, if you had a big nice box of chocolates or a good box of cigars, that was a special, wonderful thing to have.
Yep.
It's not like you have it anytime you want. You get on Amazon. I don't think you buy cigars on Amazon, but you can go to places. You can get cigars from anywhere, anytime you want. You can get the best chocolates if you have the money, anytime you want. You get the best cognac anytime you want. And then there's so much to listen to and to hear, to read, to do. The one thing I loved about the time I was professor in Cyprus, I often talked to my colleagues abroad. I said, there's no distractions here. I was on the north side, on the Turkish side. There's no symphony. There was, but not really. No, I mean there's no symphony. There's no opera. There's no ballet. There's no great museums. No great libraries. My library was the great library. But the great thing is that if I wanted to enjoy great music, I either listened to it or I did it myself. I mean, I'm talking about as well as I could. And then sometimes with my colleagues, The farther I go back and listen to some of these people, I mean, especially in the old French school, Raoul Pugnot, for example. Who knows that guy's name? But he was really quite a famous French guy. He lived at the same time as Camille Saint-Saëns. Not as long, I think. Quite as long. But amazing pianist. And there's even little recordings of little flirtatious improvisations that he did. Sometimes like the Horowitz things or stuff like that. Oh my God, and then there's that recording of that blonde lady who plays the Mephisto waltz that we listened to. I mean, we're talking about Horowitzian perfection and speed and not reckless, but it was very controlled and everything seems to be fine. But this was recorded in a time where it's cut 4 minutes, run the next one, cut another 4 minutes, keep going. I don't know if she had to stop and then start, how they managed to put it all together. But that's hell raising. I've done recording work, and I'd rather do like what I liked that Naxos was famous for doing, where you just play the whole damn thing. And they tried to have minimal editing. It was in a beautiful acoustic space. A bunch of Tchaikovsky's recordings he did up for him. And they liked him, because that's the way he liked to record. Sit down, play the whole damn piece. And he was also usually pretty good, pretty perfectionist. So I do 1, 2, 3 versions, and let's use the second one for that one. Rubinstein, I'm sure played well every single time, but he loved to go into the studio apparently and start at midnight, finish at 6 or 7 in the morning, and he would have played, some of the pieces a dozen times, only because there was something else he wanted to try. His was more organically created, perhaps, in the recording studio, whether it was something he was looking for.
Yeah.
Where Tchaikovsky may have come from that kind of tradition there seems to have been, of which all of us strive towards, of just having a kind of a final interpretation, more or less set up and presented, and then over time maybe it becomes more credible. It's very different from, I think, Friedman's style, which has, I don't think it's improvisatory. It sounds like it is.
Oh, it does.
It's incredibly worked out.
Oh, yeah.
But this is still off the top, because what I wanted to talk about, and we got some time.
Yeah.
Let's go until 3 o'clock. That would be
Okay.
a 2-hour.
Right.
A 2-hour session.
Sounds good to me. That sounds great.
What we were talking about before is I started out with Christian Zimmerman.
Yep.
Recently bought, a little recently, a few months ago, just recently.
Yeah.
I bought the Szymanowski recording.
Yeah.
He actually took his piano and everything and went to this hall in Japan, which he loves, and did the recording there. And the Japanese, the way they do everything, is perfection. It's an amazing performance. And I remember Zimmerman when he first came out. It was him, Anna Sophie Mutter, and was it Lynn Harrell was the cellist?
I think so,
Because there was originally, way back, they were all teens,
Yeah.
there was a Beethoven Triple Concerto. And von Karajan discovered all three talents and presented them in the Beethoven Triple Concerto.
Okay.
I can't remember the cellist, we could look it up and find it, but it was Zimmerman and Anna Sophie Mutter.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was Lynn Harrell, or I'm trying to think it was a cellist. But I was impressed with Zimmerman, and he never had a huge career over here. And I found out why too. I read something about him. Twice, he travels with his piano. This is the way he's doing what Paderewski did, but he flew with him. Twice, customs damaged, in one case, totally destroyed one of his Steinways coming in through New York.
Oh, jeez.
That pissed him off. But then there was a point during the Bush administration, I think the second period, where he was giving a concert in California. He stood up and told the audience that what was going on in Iraq and all that was wrong.
Yeah.
That you're going to find out that this stuff is all lies and everything, and it did turn out to be. They certainly stretched the truth about the weapons of mass destruction and all that stuff. But he apparently hasn't appeared for more than 12, 15 or more years in the United States since he said that. They said he stuck true to his word and come back. But the person who wrote the article said, and it could also be that they destroyed 2 of his pianos as well.
Oh, jeez.
But the guy flies with his, apparently more than one, he has, but concert grades.
It must be a Polish thing, because there's another pianist, Piotr Andrzejewski.
Yes.
Now you talk about Paderewski approach. He travels in a train car.
Train car, really?
In a train car.
Well, so does Zimmerman in Europe. He doesn't like to fly.
Oh!
He travels in train. Yeah.
Wow. It's got to be a Polish
That's what
thing.
astonished me when I read that he and the piano flew to Japan.
Yeah.
But it's because he had, taken the big leap and gone there. And he was so taken with the acoustics, apparently, this fall in Japan, that's where he wanted to make the Szymanowski recording.
Wow.
But I looked the guy up because this coming Saturday I'm playing for a gifted Chinese pianist who's in a youth concerto competition. I think it's the New Albany Symphony is doing it at Graves Pianos in Columbus.
We're both doing some playing this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked the kid, I said, what about timpani, rubato, things like that? He said, as kids that age would do. He said, well, I'm partial to the Zimmerman recording. So I listened to it with Berlin and von Karajan. It's really quite a nice performance. Really good. And there's so much beautiful playing. This is something that's really amazed me about Zimmerman. When there's this amazing thing blows me away. he does a double header with the Vienna Philharmonic and Bernstein
Outside.
live in the Vienna Hall on video. You can watch it on YouTube. You can own it and have it. It's a real live concert. He comes out in the first half, plays the Brahms first. Incredible.
Yeah.
And the way he plays, what I like about him is that there's this wonderful sensitivity in the way of playing. That even with a great fullness of sound, it's not ugly. There's an envelope of warmth and beauty about it. And then the gestures that he makes with the phrases have such, I wouldn't necessarily play it that way, or somebody else might play it differently, but the way he plays it is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah,
and
perfectly suited for the work.
Tapers things off the way he does it. It's really quite persuasive, quite lovely. And then the extraordinary thing, I didn't notice a flaw. I mean, this is Brahms.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, even the best of them, you know.
Yeah.
I think maybe Yuja might be an exception occasionally, but playing one or two, 100% perfect in one night.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, it's going to hurt anytime you make a mistake, but you kind of take it for granted, you know.
Well, I want to know how he felt the next morning. That's what I want to
He
know.
plays the first, plays the second, there it is. Well, I was listening to the Grieg, and so I decided to look him up. Just his Wikipedia biography about it.
Yeah.
And then I started to look up some other people. You can carry on this conversation.
Okay.
But basically what I was getting into, I was looking at some of younger artists, and then not so young, for example.
Yeah.
God, I think she's still an attractive, gorgeous lady,
Yeah.
and a very interesting player.
Yeah.
There was a violinist years ago, Nadia Salerno-Sonnenberg.
Yeah. Nice.
Who played an extraordinary Mendelssohn violin concerto.
Uh-huh.
My ex-wife and I were very fine together, but we would never pass. By the time we were living in Madison, Wisconsin, it was wintertime in Madison, Wisconsin. We'd made it through the first and the second movements in the car, and were so stunned by how original and remarkable the performance was. We sat in the driveway with the car running to finish listening to the whole performance in wind chill, which was 45 below.
Oh, jeez.
But we did not want to miss the rest of the performance. Helen Grimaud, or Hélène Grimaud, she says that way, when she performs, has a certain originality, in a sense, I think, the way that she approaches things, which can be quite convincing. I'm not going to classify her the same way as some of these other people I was going to say, but she's really remarkable. And then the thing I was stunned by when I read about it, she's no youngster anymore.
No.
She's like 52, 53, different order.
Yeah.
She's still beautiful. Beautiful, rich lady. Lucky guy that she's with. But, and I've got, hopefully, a recording of hers coming. Well, no, it may not arrive till March for me. I don't know what it says. But no, what we were talking about was two things.
Yeah.
One, we mentioned a bunch of pianists. We were talking about Igor Levit, what's his name, Vikingur Olafsson, Leif
Ansnes.
How do you say
Ansnes? Yeah. It's a Norwegian. Yeah.
Norwegian guy, and John Lim.
John Lim. We also mentioned Abby Simon.
Of all of, well, he's older, but not for exactly the same reason. Abby Simons was very male and strong, athletic, and powerful player. No, what I was impressed by is, especially John Lim, what I just gravitated towards was this guy. This way back at the turn of the 20th century.
Yeah.
Playing, and I had this influence from my postmaster's teacher Ellsworth, who just felt that there was an aesthetic envelope in piano playing where beauty in and of itself as an ancient Greek concept needed to be part of it, no matter what it was that you were playing. You could be playing Après du Lecture de Dante.
The Dante Sonata.
Well, he also played I mean, he was a great friend and proponent of the music of John Cage.
Mhm.
Whatever he played, whether it was Cage or Schubert, Mozart, it was always beautiful. And the interesting thing is that when I was younger, when you knew me, I was really volcanic pianist.
I remember that.
Really hard. And I had a wonderful, I think, training from Professor Robert Wynn, but he called it Hong Kong Conservatory technique. Very strong fingers, and a lot of power. I think I did not yet know about flexibility in the wrist because I did have some carpal tunnel a little bit earlier on when I was learning some big words.
Huh.
I had to recover from that. But I had a very volcanic way of playing until, then when I got to Howard, Howard's teacher was Rosina Levine, and I think mostly what I got from Howard especially was more depth of clarity of voices and what's going on in the music. Everything. The story I love to tell is I prepared a full Mozart sonata, first two movements of the Brahms C major sonata, and at least a half dozen Scriabin preludes to take to a 1.5 hour lesson with Howard. I wanted to make sure I had enough music, whatever needed. We spent the entire hour and a half on the first 2 pages of the Mozart. Just the exposition. That was a lesson in what I had not been doing. Really, really coming to terms with things in the music. What does this mean? What is this for? What are the relationships of these keys to each other? What is this all about? And then I went to Ellsworth, and he was a student of Ferkushny, both his bachelor's and master's degree, and had done a tremendous amount of research on the late 19th century schools of piano teaching and playing. And it was from him that I got an old copy. Now it's available. You can get it even digitally through Kindle of Malbray. Edwina, is it? Malbray. She was a teaching assistant of Theodore Leschetizky. And they went through and did photographs of every position of his hand, the before the drop, through the drop, and down, and then showing the positions of the hands and everything. I mean, it's very scientific. And, wildly so 19th century. But then there's a section beyond that where he talks about musical qualities and what is clearly a 19th century performance practice in terms of rubato, legato, voicing, breaking the voices, that kind of thing. I learned all of that from Ellsworth, and the adjective that was added on from people who came talk to me about my performance afterwards, I began to hear the word beautiful a lot. And I realized, wow, things are really changing. I could hear it myself, And I found that whatever my initial approach to the piano was when I was younger and what I was attracted to and stuff, that has, maybe a bit disappointed or not with me, but it has evolved towards a preference for this earlier, late 19th century schools of pianism and the way they play. I love the voices bringing things out. And even when it's big and it's huge, there has to be a robust and warm elegance about the sound that doesn't push the barriers where it becomes vulgar. And I think, and I have thought, sometimes, especially after being influenced by people like Howard and Ellsworth in those days, and then as I evolved even more towards a predilection for that stuff. So I'm sorry, but you guys can argue with this, but a lot of ugly playing. A lot of, let's put it this way, very aggressive playing.
Oh, yeah, of course there is.
And the other thing that I don't like, which I don't know exactly where this comes from. Recently in the slipdisc.com, there was a mention about a famous German piano professor who died recently. I knew his name. I can't think of it right now. I say it
Boris?
Huh?
Is it Boris?
No, he's alive.
Oh,
he's the one that's kind of
Boris
played
Slutsky.
Peabody.
All right.
I think it's Slutsky.
Slutsky. Okay.
But no, that's not it. There's a German guy. I could look it up, but I don't want to waste your time.
Okay.
But I know the guy, and I knew his reputation when I was in Germany as a important piano teacher. So he's playing. I think he's with his daughter. It's interesting. It's recording of Joseph Joachim
Oh.
playing. I don't know what the piece is, sonata or whatever it is. His playing seems fine, but the thing that I don't like immediately, and I do know that this somehow became a quality in music making, which I think became standard, but somehow became so self-important that it ruined the flow of music. And that's this idea that every single sound has to be full and rich with expression. So the moment that this first violinist begins to play, everything is important.
Yeah.
Every note, every way that she bows it. And I thought, what about what about the whole phrase? What about anacrusis and crucis? What about the idea, and I don't know if this comes from like Schenkerian analysis or something, but Schenkerian analysis was focused in some way, and then I don't know who built on his stuff after that. There's a famous guy I remember we looked at some point. But it's like tearing the filigree away and getting down to the basic outline.
Yeah.
What's really lying underneath there? The really core constructive material. Because then what that means in terms of interpretation is what levels then of importance or filigree is the rest of the stuff. And I like that because, when I studied art appreciation, for example, I learned about, background, middle ground, foreground, and details and things like that, and how it's often taught that way. Now, different schools will shake that up. I guess realism, expressionism, do that. But in traditional painting, there is this concept to kind of create a sense of reality in the painting. Yeah. You had to have certain things in the background that were more static, and then there were middle ground elements, which in the 19th century then you begin to associate with archetypal qualities, that have a fluidness and a kind of a fluid meaning, and then you have the very personal things up front in the picture, Music should be the most flexible and infinite of creative possibilities, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some people felt that recording early on was a sin because it was wrong to hear music that way. That wasn't music. That was something else, And then, of course, some people do. A lot of us realize, although it's changed now with new technology and also new attitudes, there was a period of time where people thought that the recording industry was taking over performance practice. That you had to do it the way that it worked and came as a final product in the studio. Because the studio goes for perfection, no perfect. And if you listen to Arthur Rubinstein's early 1930 recordings, the Chopin stuff, it's much more wild.
Yeah.
Played with more abandon, and there's some occasional wrong notes.
Yeah.
And, well, what I was getting to really was what I appreciate is with Yun-Chun Lim, and I think the way I've heard some of these other performances, there's an attitude of moving back towards beautiful sound, beautiful play. Yeah. Yun-Chun Lim for me is quintessential example of that. And yet there is so much articulative variety and character and color in what he does, but he does it at that kind of genius master's level that you associate with Rachmaninoff, with Hoffman, with Godowsky, or Friedman, for example. Okay, and that was the one thing. Then the other thing, you talk a little bit about.
Okay.
What do you think about that? I mean, the question we asked earlier was, I'd be really curious to know about who are these teachers in Korea teaching these people, and where did they study? Where did they get their ideas, or did this all develop out of a greater accessibility and appreciation and study of recordings of the past? Because now, like with Marston Records and things like that, there's extraordinary engineering going on now.
Yeah.
It's bringing these things back to life, and I would say that my ear has become attuned to this kind of stuff because I was always had some of those recordings. Murray Hill Records put a lot of them out originally, but now with CDs and streaming and stuff,
yeah,
there's such amazing things available, and then what the engineers are able to do, which is better than like the original digital stuff, which some people said sometimes flattened things a little. Now it's just almost like you're there with the instrument, with the artist. You know?
Well, I'd like to address the question you asked about where did they come from.
Yeah.
Okay. Now. I spent a lot of time on YouTube looking at other pianists talking about, what we talk about, basically pianists, music, and other things. But there's this one particular lady. I don't recall her name. If I ever find her again, I'll definitely mention it sometime. But she wanted to talk about the difference between schools in the Asian countries, from the schools in the European countries to the music schools here in America. And so she's from China. Okay, she's about our age. She says when she was a little girl, she took piano lessons in China, Asian countries, and they made her work very, very hard.
Who are you talking about? Is this huge?
No, this is not Yuja Wang.
Oh.
This is not Yuja Wang. This is some other lady. She's much older than Yuja.
Okay, great.
But anyway, she said, you worked all the time. You practiced your scales. You practiced your arpeggios. You did your exercises. You did your chanting. They built you build a repertoire. Okay? And she got to a point where, her teachers thought she was gifted enough. They got her a scholarship to study in Europe. And I don't recall which part of Europe. I think she went to the Royal Conservatory, London or England, someplace. But it was right then and there she actually got to study music and style. It was there that she started learning new repertoire and learning more about interpretation. Anything from the German music to German Romantic to German Baroque, Russian music, how to approach Russian music properly, everything. Now, what she didn't have was the ability to analyze, write essays, or research topics until she came to this country. He says she found America's conservatories, music conservatories, valuable in that area. She had never had, consider it. She said she had never had to write anything when she was in China. She had never had to write anything at the conservatory in England until she came to America. And she had no idea how to write an essay. Absolutely no clue. She had no idea how to research. She had no idea how to do any of that until she had to come to this country. She said she had to, and believe it or not, she said that was the hardest part in her music training, was trying to figure that part out.
Well, I would say to look at beyond what it means is this idea that for you to really understand something, you have to be able to communicate in greater and greater deeper levels of clarity about all of the things that you're considering about the music.
Yeah.
And to communicate that effectively to somebody else.
Yeah.
So So I think there's a component of somehow communication and perhaps teaching in that.
Yeah.
And I would add to that that I found that the more I developed as a pianist, and I would say this is in my last teen years and then from the 20s and on, I became a better musician and pianist myself the more teaching that I did.
Yeah.
And really trying to get a sincere student, really moving, motivated, and interested, learning, you know, and actually, initially it was more musical, clarification, to try to make things clear to them musically, styles and all that, and then how that informed me. Later on, I think as I became even more aware of it, especially after Ellsworth, was the connection between the concept, the physical gesture, and the realization of what you want in terms of articulation or sound. That they are one thing. It's a unified thing altogether. There's the mind being focused and understanding of how that gesture has to be interpreted. And then you have learned the vocabulary of technical possibilities and how to realize that. Then there's the concept of the sound and the emotion involved in all that coming from the heart. And that there's a marriage between the concept and the action which will give you the result of what you want.
Yeah.
And I'm not bragging by saying this, but I think that works relatively quickly for me now. I'm sometimes a little out of shape. I go back to the piano. I'm really impressed with how quickly I get warmed up back to it. It used to be, I always thought I needed to spend 45 minutes on my scales, everything like that. Yeah. I do sometimes, just for the sake, especially of endurance and strength, to keep that stuff going when I'm doing big works, you know.
Yeah.
But the fluidness of that comes pretty quickly. But I interrupted you a little bit, but I wanted to take it beyond that. That is something important in American training, which I would agree. We in Cyprus were asked to evaluate the credentials of a cellist from Belgium who was on our faculty, who, because of being able to be paid better or something like that, wanted to argue that the equivalence of his work, both in school, training, and then all of his performing, were equivalent to a doctorate level. We'd eventually we agreed that was the case. There are no doctorates in performance in Europe, or there may just become some. They're starting to maybe do it. That was entirely an American creation. USC, University of Southern California, in LA, they were the first ones to offer that. And my teacher, Robert Wynn at Wittenberg, he was a recipient of one of the first doctorates in piano from USC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, I hate to tell you this, but we're
I
nearly
know.
at 4 o'clock.
I know. But do you have anything else to say? Oh, I know the other part of it I wanted to say.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You have more.
I'm looking at recordings listed under Alain Cremont, and this is especially with things that you recorded under Deutsche Grammophon.
Okay.
It's this thing now, which I see with these newer artists. So I was saying, I'm quite interested in the idea of the beauty of the sound these pianists are making. You know, that there's an envelope, as Ellsworth put it, of an aesthetic quality of beauty, as you might have understood from the classic Greeks, that there's a point of propriety, of elegance, of gentlemanliness, of, you understand, where vulgarity is not necessary, aggression in a vulgar way is not necessary. I guess you can be aggressive, appearing in an elegant way, you know. And I know that could bring up some interesting conversation. But for example, you understand what I'm getting at. Here's a recording she did called Reflection. Now you understand what I mean. These albums come out, and the biggest word on the front cover is this poetic title, Reflection. And then there's an engaging picture of the artist.
Yeah.
I find that most of these people, they're relatively handsome or lovely looking people.
Yeah.
Arthur Rubinstein was an elegant older man, but he was certainly not a hunk. I don't know why. Horowitz had a certain boyish kind of charm about him for a long time.
Yeah.
Very handsome boy too.
Yeah.
Everybody's handsome when they're young. But that was not so much important, right?
Right.
I mean, if it was a recording by Horowitz or a recording by Rubinstein, who got first bill on the cover of the album? The composer.
Yeah.
You know? There's usually, this is a Chopin F minor concerto. Arthur Rubinstein. Sometimes it was equal. Or I like when I got the mono recording of the Brahms D minor concerto. Brahms! D minor piano concerto. All same font. Arthur Rubinstein piano, Fritz Reiner conductor, Chicago Symphony Orchestra. Right?
Yeah.
So here's one called Reflection. Composers the Schumann Piano Concerto and various works of Brahms and Claire Schumann. Here's another one called Resonances.
Resonances? Who came out with that one?
This is all Ellen Cremon.
This is all Ellen Cremon?
These are some of her recordings. Resonances, including Mozart's Eighth Sonata, Berg's First Sonata, Liszt's Sonata, and the remaining folk dances of Bartok. Duo is okay because she does it with a cellist and they play stuff. Okay. But here's the ones. Water.
You just have to look at the expression on his face.
Now it says various composers, including a new guy named Nitin Salmi.
What's his name?
Nitin Salmi.
Oh.
So there's a few people that she likes. There's water, okay? Now the next one. Memory. Including Debussy's Clair de Lune, Satie, Chopin, Ukrainian composer she likes very much named Silvestrov, who sounds very interesting, and this Salmi guy again. Okay, here's another.
Okay.
The Messenger. What the hell does this mean? Water, memory, the messenger is Mozart and Silvestrov with the Camerata Salzburg. Apparently, I think this is a work for piano and orchestra he wrote. I'm curious to try that guy because she's really played a lot of his music here. So then the next one's called Silent Songs, which may be the actual title of the collection of songs.
Okay.
By this Valentin Silvestrov. And this actually, I think there's an excerpt of this as a video on YouTube. Then there's one called For Clara.
For Clara.
That's Schumann's Kreisleriana, Brahms' 3 Intermezzi, and Brahms' 9 songs, Opus 32. Okay. Which are probably dedicated to her, written with her in mind. That's okay. But still, what is this? Now I've heard some people write about this.
Okay.
This is because the classical music industry is trying to engage younger people, 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, who have not necessarily been big classical people, but do think of classical music as kind of poetic, romantic, not just in terms of love romantic, but, you know, candlelight and mood music and lights turned down and various things like that. That it's a marketing thing that they're trying to approach that way, because if they just say Beethoven, and people say, these kind of people are going to say we're more akin to listen to various kinds of music, world music and all that, that, oh, well, Yeah, this is just old white guy music with a big stick up his ass, you know. You can't get any more big stick up your ass than Beethoven, which means they won't approach it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just curious to raise this issue. As I said, Grimaud is one of those pianists I'm curious to listen to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that she's like a dreamy, romantic player.
No, she's not.
Who works beautiful legatos and a beautiful singing sound like that. But there is a clarity. I mean, I heard her play the Brahms D minor.
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, it was good. And she played it a little harsh to my ear sometimes, but maybe not in some people's mind inappropriate to the work, because it's a very D minor key is always historically a great spiritual battle key, but that's the argument given. And I was thinking before with the BBC magazine and listening to these people, or listening to composers that, God, people don't even necessarily know over here. Or, the past, arguing passionately in letters to the editor about this recording or that by some British composer, done by some British ensembles, that who the hell are these things? Over here we don't know. But it's a way of getting educated.
Yeah.
And I mean, Bert Whistle, who's the really great one also, the symphonist? Michael, starts with an S. A really fine symphonist in the 20th century.
Composer?
Yeah.
Starts with an S.
I think so. And it's Michael, isn't it?
Michael.
You guys would know, you British people would know.
Yeah.
I apologize. If I saw it, I know the thing, but it's obviously not up in there. We know Holst and Britain and those kind of folks. And when you go back ways, Stanford Villiers, Stanford, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We know those guys, but as we get into the 20th century, there's some wonderful composers.
Yeah.
It wasn't the Bert Whistle guy, and then no, starts with a T. Michael
Tabner.
No, well, there's John Tabner, but
John Tabner.
No, there's Michael Tippett.
Yes, Tippett.
Yeah, very good. And then, of course, I love the Vaughan Williams symphonies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are really quite interesting. Yeah. He's kind of like England's Shostakovich.
Oh, yes.
In his development with the form.
I have a piano work by him. It's his actual concert arrangement of a work by Orlando Giddens.
Really?
Yeah, it's a very well-written work. The counterpoint there, it sounds much more... it sounds intricate, but it doesn't go very fast. It's a very stately work.
Isn't it Vaughan Williams who orchestrated basically Greensleeves? The famous...
Yes, there is a Greensleeves.
But that's how we call it, I think, is it? Or what is it?
No, there's a...
Or is it a Fantasia?
Yeah, there's a Fantasia and Greensleeves, but there's also one called... Oh, help me out. Fantasy on... Oh, shoot. He's done this work.
But the point is Vaughan Williams is to arranging other composers, historic composers' music, much, really well, the way
Thomas Tallis.
Thomas Tallis,
that's the word.
So he was as good at doing that with old music as Brahms was.
Oh, yeah.
Because Brahms later in his life became terribly interested in medieval Renaissance music.
He did.
And if not transcribing so much of that music, incorporating the forms into his own compositions, which was really stunning, if you get to understand like that. But what do you guys think about that? There's people done some amazing things. Igor Levit, famously, how long was it that he continued to play? Or was it a work that he played?
It was a Satie work where he played the same page like 150 times or whatever.
And he had somebody else take over the piano, so he kept playing when he went to the restroom.
Yeah.
Or took a break or something, but they kept the music going. Yeah. But no, he was quite famous for, during COVID, of doing, did he do all the Beethoven sonatas?
I don't know that. I don't know anything about that.
I don't know, was it every day? But I did a similar thing. My stuff is available under my name on YouTube through the Columbus Center Corps as well. It's specifically inside their webpage. But I did concerts through the COVID time because our course is for a period of time, of course, couldn't meet. But there were a lot of people that were doing that. And I learned all about Igor Levit because of that.
Yeah.
And then over time, they've
Ansness.
Ansness,
Ansness.
yes, Ansness. I read about him. Oh, I know the one that I read about. You know, there's a Polish guy. Let me look him up real quickly. It's L-I-S. Lisecki.
Oh,
Jonathan Lisecki. He's Canadian Polish. He's not so young now. He was born in '76, which means he's cheap in Italy.
Yeah.
He's 48 years old, right? No, that's not the guy.
That's not the guy.
That's not the guy because that guy is a playwright.
Oh.
That's not the one I'm thinking of. Lisecki. Is it Lisecki? Yep. I wasn't John. No, not John. It's Jan.
Jan.
Jan Lisecki. Here you go. And he is younger. He's born in '95. That's what I thought. So guy's only about 30 years old. Maybe 29. But we heard this recording.
Yes, we did.
It's on YouTube. You can watch it. His name is spelled Lisecki. His first name is Jan. J-A-N, like Polish name. He's born in Canada, around Calgary, I think. But brilliant kid. And had quite a career going by his mid-teens, later teens, and now, like I said, he's only 29. But he began, well, no, that's not part. What was I going to say? The Chopin F minor concerto.
Yeah.
Really intimate setting. It's with a small ensemble of an orchestra. I'd say 30 players tops.
Something like that, yeah. It wasn't
not a lot. Maybe like, kind of like 4 first violins, 4 seconds. Relatively small bunch of people. Between 20 and 30 people. He's conducting from the keyboard.
Yeah.
And I've never heard the Chopin played with such improvisation.
It's very
delight, and the voice is coming out in ways and things.
It danced quite a bit.
Yeah.
It felt like a dance. I mean,
the way they did
because you don't get that very. Yeah, exactly.
And then because there are different dances in there. There's a mazurka, right?
Yeah.
A polonaise or something.
Yeah.
The last movement has these different moments. I mean, I grew up with Arthur Rubinstein's, it's famous. Of course, that's one of his earliest piano performances in his life, was a Chopin.
Yeah.
And there's nothing against the way he did it. But this is 21st century modern playing, which has seriously gone through filters of historic performance influence.
Yep.
It's a wonderful recording. I really highly refer it because it's like it's a fresh new piece. I'm sorry, but there's certain pieces like we were talking about recently. Why don't anybody play the Grieg anymore? Well, that's because those who are playing the Grieg
don't know Greek.
they bring way too much arrogance and hostility to the concerto.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not, or like play it like it's supposed to be super fast and all that, and it lacks the
poetry,
Norwegian poetic gentility that we read about the way Grieg was.
Yeah.
And if you know his other music,
yeah,
all the songs and the folk dances and all that kind of stuff, that has to be part of what's in the interpretation.
Yeah. It's funny you should bring up Grieg's name.
Uh-oh.
Here's what I brought in. Have you ever seen this? I got it on sale, but I've had that score for a long time.
Is this different from the Holberg Suite?
No, well, a little bit different. This one is for piano.
Yeah, I get that. Was it originally? Yeah, it looks like
it was originally piano. Yeah. Now, if you remember the opening, okay, the string, it's a string work, okay, Holberg, we all know it as string work.
Right.
But the strings go bum ba-da-dum 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 ba-da-dum. Look at the way this one starts.
Which works very well for the piano.
Which does work very well.
Yes.
I was surprised.
it looks to me like toccata from Ravel here.
Yeah,
Not
it
as
is.
complicated,
Yeah,
but it looks like a toccata, like sent by Bach or somebody. Just
yeah,
16th notes all over the place.
yeah. But it works really well.
Saraband, yeah.
Now, you look, any of you parents looking for something new? There it is, Hallberg Suite.
Yeah, I would say, that a professional person could play this.
Yeah.
But I also think it could be given to better than average intermediate level pianists.
Yeah.
Some of the movements.
Yeah.
Certainly. And it looks like it's really nice music.
Oh, it's wonderful music.
You want to show me?
Yeah. This is published by Henley. Now, you're wondering about this green dot here. This is a sticker, which meant I got it for half price. Take a good look at it.
Well, you got anything else you want to show before we go?
Well, I
Keep
think
going
we could
on
save it
further.
for. I think we could save it for another time.
Well, everybody, we tried our best.
Yeah,
We did, looks like a little over 2 hours.
yeah, we did. Now, if you like our content, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Anything you want to talk about, make it. Put it in the comments. Okay, we read our comments.
You can go to Marc and Elmer's PSI, which stands for
Piano Scene Investigations.
Okay, on Facebook, Marc and Elmer's PSI.
Yes.
Either way, we invite you to join in on our conversations and become part of it. Eventually, once we get things going, maybe we can have a production team.
Yeah.
And then we'll have like T-shirts and
Yeah.
coffee cups
Play for you.
fun things.
Because we do play.
Yeah, we do play. But I think both you got stuff up on YouTube anywhere? You have any of your stuff?
No, not really. No.
You have recordings of
I have recordings.
Well, that our theme music at the beginning, that's Elmer.
Oh
He's
yeah.
playing the piano, and that's his own little composition. Derivative of some
Yeah.
famous,
Hey, I got an
famous
idea.
pieces.
If some of you have listened to the introduction, listen to it again. Tell me what pieces and what composers influenced that introduction.
Yeah.
I want to know how many do you get.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. That's good. All right. Well, I think we're going to try to keep it fresh and a little bit lighter in terms of the timing, but we still got on. And I know that was mostly my fault today, as it always is. But I had a good time. Did you?
I had a wonderful time.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We hope you guys do too.
Yeah.
And we're not going to worry so much about the date and staying strict with that, but
Yeah.
we'll try to put one of these out every week or at least every other week, depending on my schedule, because I do the post-production stuff. And anyway, my name is Dr. Mark Haig,
I'm Elmer.
and this is Marc and Elmer's PSI.
PSI.
We'll see you next time.
Oh, you know what we forgot?
What's
I
that?
forgot to mention Peter Shickley.
Oh,
He just passed away. For those of you who don't know Peter Shickley, he's PDQ Bach, otherwise.
well, we can leave that on the camera.
Okay, good.
So, yes, my favorite thing is when he does the Beethoven Fifth
This commentary.
commentary as a baseball game.
Yeah, wonderful.
That is fabulous.
This is the French horn player messes up the solo. Da 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 da. And he says, "Oh, I'm sure he's going to be hearing about that during halftime."